So last night I had a gig. I went to a wedding and I sang at a wedding. And I was actually very motivated yesterday or last night. It was a just very nice wedding. And I've seen, which is something I never do, but I've seen my friends who also sing. They sometimes come off the stage. They come down and dance with people, and sing with them. And I've been always very afraid of doing that. So last night, I I was singing a song that I really like, and I didn't even think about it because I was like very excited, and I came down. I stepped down and I was singing, and then I missed my key, like I missed my entrance for the next verse after the chorus, and I'm down looking like I'm down with everyone around me. We were like also excited, and then I completely forgot the lyrics. Like it's not that I forgot the lyrics. I missed the entrance for the second verse, and like it was hard for me to hear where I was at, so I couldn't get back into the song until the chorus again. So I was like looking up. Everyone was so lost because I was leading the song, and it was so funny. But I'm glad I did it because I never do it, and I think it kind of like backfired in the sense that I forgot the lyrics. But um, this is what I'm going to talk about today, because I went for it. Like I took action. I was like, you know what, I'm going to go for it. I didn't even think about it. Um, so I want to make sure that next time I know um that I have to be aware that the song is gonna, keep on going and just have to be mindful of that. But I wanted to tell this little story because I rarely do stuff like that. Think like I usually think things through for a long time before I do those kinds of things. I usually get a little. I don't get that nervous anymore when I sing live, but last night it was so cool, whatever. And but I'm particularly afraid of doing those things. Like coming down to the stage and actually dancing with people or singing like right there with the people. And I've seen my other friends do it, and I think it's super fun. And people have a really good time. And I was like, yes, sure, I'm gonna go for it. And I went down, and this thing happened. But uh, this is kind of like an example of when you do things and you don't put a lot of thought into it. And I think that's for me in my particular case and for the things that I need to, I guess, work on in life. That's something important for me, not to just um be thinking things too much and just go for the action. Just go for the things I want and for the things that I feel are super fun and that would, bring a lot of benefit to the things I do. In this case, it's just if I sing or when I sing, it's just having a good time and actually having a good time with the people who are listening. So, little story to um kind of like reflect the topic we're going to talk about today in the podcast. So, hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. This is your host, Marco. I am a marketer, fitness coach, singer, astrology student, amongst other things, on a journey to discover what it means to be human. I am on a quest to build a community that helps us believe in ourselves, unleash our inner power, and reclaim our voices through self discovery. So, if you enjoy discussing topics such as fitness, relationships, astrology, and human stories, please feel free to subscribe, share, or reach out. Together, through the power of stories and conversation, we can grow stronger as a community. As a matter of fact, it would be so nice if you can just hit like or dislike. Hopefully, you don't dislike this episode or my podcast. Um, and subscribe if you find this information valuable. And I'm still learning, and I'm still finding my way on this podcast. um and I think it would be great if you are a part of it, by supporting me or supporting the ideas or the discussions that we can have here, and being part of something bigger, that is not necessarily just me talking about something, but it's creating a community and conversation, and sharing different ideas that can contribute to everyone. um I think that's a cool thing. And also, when I say helps, like I want to create this community, but when um, use the term helps, I'm trying to find a word to better describe what I want to do, because I don't want it to be as, when I use helps, I don't mean like someone needs help. Maybe that adds value, maybe a better word. So if you have an idea, just write it here or send it to me in a DM or something. But yeah, today I want to talk about taking action. Sometimes uh, we live too much, especially myself. I tend to overthink. And sometimes we or I live too much in the world of the ideas, or like, on reflection and thinking and putting too much thought to things. And sometimes because of because I spend so much time thinking about things, I am kind of like paralyzed. And there are many, um, regardless of the mm, of the reasons why I might be thinking too much. Sometimes just taking action gets you out of it, and that's it. Sometimes, although it's good to reflect and understand why sometimes you can be thinking too much, sometimes, like, that can be good and valuable. But maybe sometimes you don't have to like overthink it and like uh be reflecting too much on why you do a certain thing, and just like take action. Which I think in my case, it's what I've been lacking. um and it's exactly what I started doing with this podcast. It's what I don't know if you remember my first few episodes. I was talking about that. I just wanted to, start basically before I was ready, and um, because otherwise I would have I would have never started. So here I am today talking about taking action and actually using your body, your behavior, using your skills, or um your willpower to actually engage in things that are more real, and that are not just on your mind. um and that energy, I talk a lot about astrology, and in astrology, that's the fire energy. Fire. So remember when I was telling the story earlier that I was singing and then it just came down, that moving energy, just doing things. Obviously, it's not that I had a brief thought of, I should just come down. And obviously that was the impulse. So um, that led me to just walking down the stage, or to walk down the stage. But um, that energy of just movement and doing things maybe a little, maybe faster, um, is very typical of the fire energy. In this case, it's the first fire sign, which is Aries. Aries is represented by Mars. Um, like it has, you can look at that energy or that archetype from different views or from different perspectives. And it represents individuality, your inner warrior, um, and that energy of action, and that energy of self, of who you are, being maybe born into this reality, or whatever you feel like this current reality is for you. So it's like when you are here, when you are born, when you are actually um in this world, in this present moment. Um, as I said it, as I said before, it's ruled by Mars. It's a fire energy. Um, and it has kind of like that initiation energy to it. It's if you see the way you start things in your life, in your everyday life, you can look at where your Mars is in your chart, where your Aries sign is in your chart, or where your or which sign is in your rising sign. So archetypically, um, the first house or the ascendant or the rising sign is the Aries um, sign, or is the beginning of the astrological chart, or the beginning of a natal chart. When you see that first line, that's where the first house starts. That's the rising. That's the first house would be the Aries house. And in astrology, we it's it's all a spiral, it's all circles, and it's good sometimes to understand what's before the sign and what's after and what's in front. In astrology, a natal chart is a circle, so it's good to understand where Aries comes from, then what's in front of it, and where Aries is going to. Um, because that way you can get a little bit you can get a better understanding of the energy of the sign. So before Aries, we have Pisces. So Pisces is that energy where everything is together. It's like that wholeness, that union, that something that's potential, as I said before. And then if you follow that pattern, or that cycle, after Pisces comes Aries. Okay, so it's like kind of like that separation from something where, if you see it, for example, from the perspective or of you being born, maybe you were in your mother's womb, like you were in their belly, and then you were together with something else, right? And then you are born, and then you're all of a sudden you're like this person, this individual, and then we are yourself. You're no longer part of something, at least from this like, at least you're not inside in it, you are actually a part of another body. um so that separation is like that thing that makes you an individual, if you see it from that perspective. um and after when um when you're born, which is Aries energy, what's in front of it is Libra, and it's the other side of the axis, or the side of the spectrum, where there's someone else as well, but it's just but not you're not necessarily side of that person, right? um this is from telling the story from this particular example. And after Aries, so it's Pisces, Aries, and then comes Taurus. Taurus um is when you realize that you can experience life through your senses, through your taste, through your eyes, through your um, skin, through touch, through what you can hear, and through your communication. But also in Taurus, we see value. Okay, so I want to get maybe a little deeper here, deeper, because like Aries, it's the self, but you cannot be a self without someone else, technically, right? So there has to be someone else in order for you to recognize yourself as yourself. I guess that's safe to say. Um, and that's who you are. Like you are here and that's it. And sometimes we have all these existential questions, which are totally valid, but there's a reality. And then if you can feel, which is the next one, which is Taurus, where you can also see self-worth and your value, it's like um, you are valuable because you are already here, if that makes sense. You came from this Pisces, this potential energy from, I guess, the source of whatever, wherever we come from. And then there's this manifestation of the self. And just being that self um is just prove that you are valuable. And sometimes when we will next episode we'll talk about self-worth and all these things, it's like we start finding different ways. And I know from a rational perspective sometimes we need to find the evidence that we are valuable and all these things, or that we belong. But that's, if we go to the deepest, it's like you already here, so yet you already belong, even if you can't rationally think about it. And of course we live in this reality through our perspective on things, but I think there's something deeper that even if you can understand it or not, it's like you are already worthy of love or being here, or worthy of experiencing life and living, which is that energy of fire. So yeah, taking action. So sometimes like when Aries people, sometimes not people, the energy of Aries, and usually people, sometimes like if you have Aries strong in your chart, it's like, oh, very competitive people. And we are, I guess, everyone's competitive, but to different on, it's I guess it's a spectrum. So people are more competitive, or maybe some people are more competitive in different areas of life. So in the case of Aries, it's a lot of things that have to do with action and taking action, some things that are physical, things that require the body. And the thing about taking action is that you can actually create reality. It's kind of like a combination of the things that are potential and the things that you cannot see and what you can imagine, and the things that you can actually act on so that they become a reality. And in order for that to happen, then you need, like, be consistent, be respect the process, which is also like there's all these energies of like Taurus in the case of respecting the process and all the things that you need to do, which is a spiral. And if you follow the pattern on the astrological chart, you can all see like all the steps you need in order to actually create, have an order, respect the process, enjoy, let the space for the thing that you want to happen, and then allow chaos, and then maybe repeat all over again, but yeah, maybe that's a little abstract, but that's from the astrological perspective. But since we're talking about um Aries and about taking action, I wanted to talk about one of the things that when I was studying with Precision Nutrition, which again is this company that helps people be healthier through their habits and through their mindset, and through accountability and through information. um they, at the beginning of any coaching session or program, they ask, or at least that's what I learned. It's like or my interpretation of what I learned is that you have to make time to take action, because action requires a space and time, in order for it to happen. So the one of the things that you have to do is make time and take action, because these tasks make everything possible. So if there's no action and if there's no space or time, then how can things become possible? So making the time declares that you matter, again, as an individual, from the self's perspective, is like, okay, if I'm gonna make the time, I'm gonna make the space intentionally, an initiation, that first step, and then you create the space, which creating the space would be more of a Venus energy, um, where the desire is, where the desire takes place, and then you allow for the action to happen, which is a Mars energy, the Aries energy, um, then it makes you feel like you matter as an individual. There's always a nice balance, understanding that everyone matters, and it depends on what you want in life, but it's it's a sign, or it's a way for you to prove to yourself that you matter, at least um, subconsciously or consciously. I don't know, but slowly, if you take action, I think that's going to be part of who you are, understanding that you are a priority as well in your life. Because sometimes people are like, oh, put yourself first and whatever. And sometimes I feel, maybe this is just what I think. I'm not saying this is the truth, but sometimes I feel like everyone right now, everyone's like, it's you, I, self, 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 self. And it's like, and you come first, what I want, or especially in the dating. The other day I saw this a post, and it was like, it said something like, um, I want you to be focused on yourself. I want to be your second priority in life. I want your business and what you want in life to be yours. So it's like, I'm like, can it, why does it have to take, I know there are different priorities, but there are a few things that I think are kind of like weird, at least there, or at least it's a good thing to think about it, because like sometimes where I'm like, the that thing that I saw starts with the I want you to be. So I think that for me, although like I sometimes I want people to be different things or certain things, it's like it would be nice if you find someone who is actually uh exactly how you want them to be. But it's kind of weird that it comes from a place that I want you to be something, instead of maybe accepting you as you are. And we can get deeper into like actually engaging with that imaginary person into a relationship or not, or engaging with them for something long term or short term or whatever it is. But it kind of like, for me, kind of like messes me up to think that, oh, I want you to focus on this and this, and I want myself to be a second priority because I want you to put yourself first. And this is kind of weird, because why can't it be all of us? Why can't we all be first, or at least a priority, with nice balance, and accept you? What if someone has everything done with their life, like they're like really well at very aspects of their lives, and they want to put you as a priority because that's what they value, maybe human connection or the romantic relationship. So it's kind of weird. I don't know if I've made myself clear, but yeah, I kind of like took a long route there, but uh it's important, again, to take action and to make time for yourself, and understand that you matter as much as other people matter, like the people who are close to you and the people that you love. um and when you take action, and you, especially if you make it consistent, it's a commitment to you and to your values and your priorities. Those, again, values, that's what you see in Taurus and all these things, and your priorities. um and it's actually very tailored to who you are, right? And then if you value human connection, then your actions should be maybe um directed towards what you value, in this case, human connections or relationships, which, as we learned in the podcast, is something that you have to take care of in order to have deep health, and also having your priorities set, And you do that by getting to know yourself. As the more you get to know yourself, and then the more you're open to experience and curious about life and your interactions with people, with your career, with your community, with your family, with everything that's around you, with yourself, I think it's a good way to get to know yourself. And then based on that, start to set priorities and understand your values, understand your desires, and understand what's important to you, understand and feel from your body, from your heart, from yeah, literally from your body, not only from your mind, the things that actually feel good and that are safe and that can allow you um, allow good things to happen or to come and into your life. So there are a few things that I wrote here about action that I got from Precision Nutrition, so I want to give them credit. So the first thing is that action often comes before motivation. Also, a tiny action helps us bust out of procrastination and the feeling of being stuck. Um, so if you don't think about it, if you just go for it, then it gets you out of it, out of procrastination. Here, like I'm a massive procrastinator. um, so when I take, I'm like, when that happens to me, I'm like, I'm gonna just get up and do things. And after I do that, for example, in the morning, I was so tired because I got here like at 6 a.m. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna wake up. And I turned on the TV, which I never watched TV, and I started folding some clothes that I had on top of my bed. um Actually it was on top of my next to my screen or something, to my TV. And I was like, oh, as I was watching TV, I started folding the clothes. When I finished folding the clothes, I needed to put them in the closet. And as soon as I put everything into the closet, I started like organizing everything in my bedroom. So that action um usually gets us to take different actions. Often all we need to do is push through that first few minutes of resistance and just take those small actions that create momentum, which is what happened to me today, this morning. And usually that's what happens to the majority of people. At least I can tell it for myself. It's like you start organizing your closet and then all of your house a few hours after is organized. Unless you get tired. Sometimes I get tired if it's too much of a of a project. But action is empowering. It makes you feel better. Action is satisfying, and action is evidence. Evidence that you matter. Evidence that you are worth it. Evidence that you are on the way to who you want to become, or on the way um, to get the things that you want to accomplish. So, because we're talking about action, I would suggest, not maybe not suggest. This is something that I do, and to each their own. But it's good to make a list of possible actions and then set reasonable and realistic expectations. If you make your list of possible things that you could do, and then from those things, of course, you narrow it down to a few actions that feel reasonable, that feel that you can accomplish them, that doesn't create a lot of resistance, that usually will get you into that momentum of action and action and action. And also, it's this um, process of also creating evidence to believe in yourself, to create more self trust, and to actually get the results you want. And you need to create the realistic expectations, because sometimes, like, if for example, I'm going to give an example. I do jujitsu right now. So I go to jujitsu, and before I used to go to the gym a lot. And I love jujitsu better, so I don't go to the gym anymore. It's not that I don't go to the gym anymore, but I was like, I'm gonna start waking up. I usually wake up early, but I go to bed late. Lately, I've been going to bed late because I'm working at night as well. So I when I sometimes I'm like, I'm gonna start waking up every day at 5 a.m. or um 5 a.m. so that I can hit the gym really early before I go to my jiu-jitsu class really early in the morning. So I'm like, maybe that's not realistic, and or I can do it for a little bit, but then I'm gonna get tired. So what I did is just, okay, I'm gonna do 2 times of gym. Like I'm gonna do 2 workouts in the gym a week, right? And one is gonna be on the weekends, and one is gonna be during the week, and it's going to be a short one. So that's my realistic expectation, because sometimes you create the momentum and then you get tired, you lose it. So that's why beforehand it's good to to um make your list of possible actions that feel reasonable and um realistic. And in that way you can make it more sustainable and feel better about it. Make it easier for yourself and for your body to adapt. Make it a nicer process to actually get what you want. um I've yeah, so I want to do something. I'm going to start doing this. I hope I don't forget for next week. But my amazing friend Zeke gave me a tarot deck. And what I want to do is, like, I already got one card out, and what I want to do is I want to, at the end of each episode, I want to just talk about, like, take one card out and just read the message. So this is the Hermit for um today, or for this episode. And let's see what it says here. It says, the hermit represents solitude and leaving responsibilities behind to focus inward. In the Celtic myth, the elusive white stag encourages people to drop everything and pursue spirituality. Um, some people read the cards like upright and reversed. So in the upright side, it has introspection, withdrawal, prudence. I don't know how to pronounce that word, and insight and meditation. And then the reverse would be recklessness, hastiness, avoidance, loneliness, and rejection. So that's, so you remember, this is so I took this before I started talking, right? And it's crazy because I think that's kind of like the two ends of this. Do you know that little story about that post I read, the dating thing? Like, I want you to be this, or and it's like, in this society, it seems like we all want to. I don't know. I just don't want to say that, but I feel sometimes I feel like we want to be like, kind of like narcissistic in a sense, but we cover it with all what we want it for community. We want community to be better, or whatever. We want to be part of this, but at the end of the day, we feel, I think there's a very narcissistic narrative. And I think when we talk about self and becoming a priority, is you can be in either side of the spectrum, but I think it's about being introspective, having insight, and having, meditation to understand yourself better, but also not only for yourself, is to show up better for society and for relationships. And I know that's not an obligation, that's fine, but in my particular case, that's how I see it. And sometimes we just get into the opposite, which would be like the low energy of Aries. It's like being reckless or hastiness, um, um, or having hastiness or avoidance, or it says loneliness and rejection. And it's literally that loneliness is like, you can be by yourself, but not necessarily feel lonely, which is, I would say, maybe it's a case of the hermit. I just want to show you the card here for the ones who are watching. Um, but that again, that energy of individuality or the self is, it can only exist if there's other people, and through the interaction. And of course, you can be in this world, you can be whatever you want to be, but as we've learned, is relationships are very important, and are the relationships are determinant of your overall health and connection. So yeah, it's a good thing to prioritize yourself, but it's a good thing to prioritize other and prioritize relationships, and making the world a better experience. Oh, just experience life, and that's it. Oh my god. I don't know. Good for thought, I guess. So yeah, this is everything I have for you for today. I am recording this podcast in the evening after a long day of running errands, and I'm so glad I did it. This is gonna come out in a few hours probably. So, okay, I'll see you next week. Again, I would love for you to subscribe and, to support something if it aligns um with your values, or at least if you find it interesting or it entertains you or something. So okay, I'll see you next time. Thank you so much if you listened. Bye bye.